First contact with the luminary. The U.S. horizon cuts silently through the void of space, its advanced sensors sweeping the outer reaches of the Cassiopeia sector. Commander Sarah Chen stood at the bridge's observation window, her muscular frame testament to humanity's evolution on a high-gravity world. The ship's routine patrol had brought them to the edges of mapped space, where the boundaries between civilized sectors and the lawless frontier blurred. "Commander," Lieutenant Park's voice carried across the bridge, tension evident in his tone. "We're picking up an unusual signal. It's singing." Chen turned from the window, her dark eyes narrowing. "Put it through." The bridge filled with an ethereal melody, a haunting chorus of crystalline voices that seemed to ripple through the very air. The translation matrix struggled for several seconds before converting the harmonics into words. "To any who hear our song, we plead for aid." The Vorkath raiders return with each cycle, harvesting our people for their essence. "We are the luminary, children of the starlight, and we are dying." Chen's jaw tightened. The Vorkath. She'd heard whispers about these pirates, how they preyed on peaceful species that lacked the biological advantages of worlds like Earth. Source of the transmission: the Celestial Veil Nebula. "Commander, about 2 light days from our position." Park's fingers danced across his holographic display. "But there's something else. The signal. It's not being broadcast through conventional means. It's being carried through some kind of crystalline resonance network." Dr. Maya Patel, the ship's xenobiologist, spoke up from her station. "The luminary. I've read theoretical papers about them. They're supposed to be myths, Commander. A species that evolved in microgravity, their bodies containing living crystals that capture and transmit stellar energy. They're said to be able to heal with pure light." "Myths don't send distress calls," Chen replied, her mind already racing through options. The Horizon was a patrol vessel, well armed but not a warship. Yet they were also the only human ship within range. How many Vorkath ships are we looking at? "Scanning now," Lieutenant Commander Rodriguez reported from Tactical. "I count 7 harvester vessels, Commander. Old tech, but their holds are heavily shielded. They're clearly trying to hide whatever they're carrying. Or whoever," Chen thought grimly. The Vorkath were known for trafficking in exotic biological materials. If the luminary really could heal with light, their bodies would be worth fortunes on the black market. "Commander," Dr. Patel interjected, "if the luminary evolved in microgravity, they'll be incredibly vulnerable. Their crystalline structures would shatter under any significant gravitational stress. We can't just charge in there with our artificial gravity fields at Earth normal." Chen nodded slowly, a plan forming in her mind. What the pirates saw as vulnerability, she saw as opportunity. Humanity had spent centuries adapting to crush their bones, pushing against a gravity well that would kill most spacefaring species. They'd learned to turn that strength into protection for others. "Park, send a message to Fleet Command. Let them know we're investigating the humanitarian crisis." She turned to Rodriguez. "Begin calculating microgravity combat scenarios. If we have to fight, we do it on our terms, not theirs." "And the luminary transmission?" Park asked. "Tell them help is coming," Chen replied, her voice carrying the weight of certainty that came from generations of human determination. "But most importantly, tell them how to protect themselves until we arrive. Sometimes the best defense isn't fighting back, it's knowing how to endure." As the Horizon altered course toward the Celestial Veil, Chen reflected on humanity's place in the galaxy. They'd emerged from their gravity well to find a universe full of wonders and horrors, species that saw them as brutish monsters evolved from a death world. But perhaps that was exactly what the galaxy needed sometimes, protectors who could bear the weight that would crush others. The luminary song continued to echo through the bridge, a reminder of what was at stake. Chen had no intention of letting another species face extinction, not while humanity had the strength to stand between them and the darkness. "All hands," she announced shipwide. "Prepare for microgravity operations. We're about to remind the galaxy why you don't corner a species that evolved fighting against a planet that wanted to crush them. The horizon accelerated toward its destination, carrying with it humanity's unique blend of strength and compassion, ready to prove that being a Deathworlder meant more than just surviving. It meant having the power to ensure others could survive too. The weight of responsibility. The celestial veil lived up to its name. As the U.S. horizon decelerated into the nebula's outer reaches, sheets of cosmic dust rippled with bioluminescent pulses, like neural networks painted across space itself. But the beauty of the scene was marred by ugly scars, dark patches where something had torn through the delicate fabric of light. Dr. Maya Patel's fingers trembled as she processed the sensor data streaming in. "Commander, I'm detecting crystalline structures throughout the nebula. They're not just buildings or ships. They're part of a vast, living network. The Luminary didn't just build their civilization here. They're symbiotically linked to the entire region." Commander Chen watched through the main viewport as a luminary structure drifted past, a gossamer thin lattice of crystal and light that somehow supported an entire city. Life support status of the structures. Critical in many areas, Rodriguez reported from Tactical. The Vorkath aren't just harvesting individuals, they're ripping apart the very framework of luminary society. Each crystal they steal weakens the whole network. A new signal pierced through the ship's communications, more focused than the general distress call they'd followed. The universal translator rendered it in a voice that seemed to chime like wind through crystal. "Earth vessel, we thank you for answering our plea. I am Resonance of Dawn's Light, speaker for the Luminary Consensus. Please, approach with caution. Our structures cannot withstand significant gravitational disturbance." Chen nodded to Park, who adjusted their gravity fields to their lowest stable setting. The crew immediately felt the change, their movements becoming lighter, more deliberate. Years of training in variable gravity conditions kept them functioning smoothly even as paper and tablets began floating off desks. "Speaker," Chen responded, "I am Commander Sarah Chen of the U.S. Horizon. We're here to help, but we need to understand exactly what we're dealing with. Can you tell us more about these raiders?" The crystalline voice carried notes of deep sorrow. "They came first as traders, speaking of cultural exchange. We did not understand their true nature until too late. Our healing crystals, the very essence of our being, command high prices in what you call the black market. Each raid takes more of us, and with us, the songs of our ancestors." Dr. Patel's eyes widened as she correlated new data. "Commander, the luminary healing ability. It's not just biological. Their crystalline matrices store and transmit generations of accumulated knowledge. When the Vorkath harvest their crystals, they're not just killing individuals. They're erasing entire libraries of healing techniques." Chen felt her muscles tense, a Deathworlder's instinctive response to threat. She forced herself to relax, knowing that even such a small reaction could generate dangerous gravity waves in this delicate environment. "How many of your people have they taken?" "We have lost 1/3 of our total population," Resonance replied, the translation carrying harmonic undertones of grief. "But worse, they have destroyed nearly half of our knowledge crystals. Techniques for healing that took millennia to develop, gone in moments of violence." Rodriguez's tactical display suddenly flared with new contacts. "Commander, Vorkath ships approaching from the nebula's dark side. 7 vessels, same configuration as before. There," he paused, disbelief in his voice. "They're not even trying to hide their approach. They don't think we'll interfere." "Speaker," Chen said, her voice carrying the steady resolve that had carried humanity from their crushing gravity well to the stars. "I need you to tell your people to retreat to their most stable structures. My science officer will transmit specifications for optimal gravitational shielding. Can your crystals adapt to protect against gravity waves?" "Yes," Resonance replied, hope beginning to resonate in their harmonic voice. "We can align our matrices to resist specific frequencies. But Commander, the Vorkath have legal sanctions from certain corrupt members of the Galactic Council. If you intervene directly, Let me worry about the politics, Chen interrupted, a grim smile playing across her face. Humanity has some experience with finding creative solutions to seemingly impossible problems. We evolved on a world that tried to crush us every day. We learned that sometimes the greatest strength lies not in fighting force with force, but in turning an enemy's power against them. She turned to her crew, her voice carrying the weight of command that had been bred into humans by generations of fighting against their own world's gravity. Dr. Patel, work with the luminary to establish those gravitational shields. Rodriguez, I want a detailed analysis of Vorkath ship structural tolerances in variable gravity conditions. Park, get me a secure channel to any Earth ships within 2 light days. It's time to show these pirates why raiding a species under humanity's protection is a very, very bad idea. As the crew sprang into action, Chen watched the approaching Vorkath ships. They moved with the casual arrogance of predators who had never faced serious resistance. They didn't understand that they were no longer hunting helpless prey. They were about to face defenders who had evolved under crushing pressure, who had learned to turn the very force of gravity itself into a weapon. The Horizon's gravity generators hummed as they recalibrated, preparing for a kind of combat that would demonstrate why humanity's greatest strength wasn't their ability to endure pressure. It was their ability to protect others from it. Operation Stardust Shield. The void between the Horizon and the approaching Vorkath ships sparkled with crystalline debris, fragments of shattered luminary cities that caught and reflected the nebula's light. Commander Chen watched the tactical display as 2 more human ships dropped out of FTL behind them, the HNS Dauntless and the ESS Galileo, responding to their emergency call. Vorkath vessels are hailing, Park announced from his station. Their leader calls himself Trade Master Vexkar. The alien that appeared on the main screen had the typical Vorkath appearance. Chitinous plates covering a lean frame evolved for low-gravity environments. His mandibles clicked in what Chen had learned was their expression of amused contempt. Earth vessel. Vexkar's translator rendered his clicks into smooth basic. You are interfering with a legitimate salvage operation. We have permits from the Galactic Trade Council for resource extraction in this sector. Chen stood, her movements carefully controlled in the minimal gravity. Interesting choice of words. Trademaster. Where I come from, we don't consider sentient beings to be salvage. Ah, yes, humans. The click of mandibles became more pronounced. Always so concerned with your arbitrary distinctions between resources and beings. The luminary exists to be harvested. Their crystals heal the worthy. It is the natural order. Dr. Patel's voice came through Chen's personal comm. Commander, the luminary have successfully realigned their matrix shields. They're as ready as they'll ever be. Chen allowed herself a small smile. Natural order. Trademaster. Let me tell you about natural order. On Earth, we evolved under crushing gravity that would shatter your ships like glass. We learned to survive by understanding forces you can barely comprehend. Would you like a demonstration? She cut the transmission before he could respond. All ships, execute Operation Stardust Shield. Pattern Delta. The 3 human ships moved in perfect synchronization, their gravity generators powering up to create overlapping fields. This was the maneuver they'd practiced, a technique developed specifically for protecting vulnerable species in space. First pulse in 3, 2, 1. Rodriguez counted down. The Horizon's gravity generators released a carefully calibrated wave, strong enough to disrupt the Vorkath ship's approach, but precisely tuned to pass harmlessly through the luminary's crystalline shields. The pirate ships shuddered, their low-G structural reinforcement straining against forces they were never designed to handle. They're powering weapons, Rodriguez reported, but his voice held no concern. The Vorkath's energy weapons were formidable, but they required precise targeting. Targeting that was impossible as their ships fought against the unpredictable gravity waves. Second pulse, wider spread, Chen ordered. The 3 human ships adjusted their positions, creating a gravitational web that caught the Vorkath fleet like insects in amber. some of the pirate ships began to turn, trying to retreat. "Commander," Park called out, multiple new contacts appearing. Local traffic, carrying Galactic Council markings. Chen had expected this. The corrupt officials who had granted the Vorkath their permits would have been monitoring the situation. "Perfect. Broadcast on all frequencies," she ordered, visual and audio. Once Park confirmed the channel was open, she spoke clearly and firmly. "This is Commander Sarah Chen of the Earth Defense Fleet. We are currently preventing the genocide of the luminary species by ships operating under falsified salvage permits. Our sensors have documented multiple violations of galactic law, including the murder of sentient beings for organ harvesting. We welcome Galactic Council observers to witness our defensive operation." The Vorkath ships were now in full retreat, their formations broken by the continuing gravity pulses. Several of them had suffered hull breaches, their crews desperately sealing compartments as the unfamiliar forces threatened to tear their vessels apart. "Council ships are holding position," Rodriguez reported. "They're recording everything." Chen nodded. This had never been just about stopping one raid. It was about sending a message to the entire galaxy. "Dr. Patel, please ask our luminary friends to demonstrate their unified defense matrix." The nebula came alive with light as thousands of crystals pulsed in harmony, creating patterns that the horizon's sensors recognized as a massive data transmission. "Broadcasting their complete historical record," Patel explained, her voice full of wonder. "Every incident of Vorkath raids, every permit falsification, every credit transfer to corrupt officials, all stored in their crystalline memory, now being transmitted to every council ship in range." The Vorkath fleet was now in full retreat, their ships limping away from the gravitational onslaught. They had come expecting to terrorize beings they considered weak, only to discover that strength could take many forms, and that humanity's greatest strength wasn't their ability to survive crushing gravity, but their determination to use that power to protect others. "Stand down gravity pulses," Chen ordered as the last Vorkath ship fled. "Begin rescue operations for any damaged vessels, but maintain gravitational containment fields. I want those crews alive to testify before the Council." As the human ships moved to secure the area, the luminary cities began to pulse with new patterns of light, not signals of distress now, but complex harmonies that the translator rendered as songs of gratitude. Humanity had proven itself not just as fearsome Deathworlders, but as protectors who could use their evolutionary advantages to shield those who needed it most. The Horizon's crew watched as the crystalline structures began to repair themselves, their light growing stronger by the moment. They had done more than save lives today. They had shown the galaxy that true strength lies not in the ability to destroy, but in the power to protect. Ripples through the stars. 3 days after the confrontation with the Vorkath fleet, the U.S. Horizon's bridge hummed with activity as representatives from across the galaxy gathered in the nebula. The ship's gravity was still set to minimum, accommodating the diverse biology of their visitors. Commander Chen stood before the assembled delegation, her stance relaxed but alert. Crystalline light danced through the chamber as resonance of dawn's light spoke for the luminary. "The consensus has reached a decision that will reshape our future. We propose a formal alliance with humanity, not as helpless charges requiring protection, but as partners who can complement each other's strengths." The Galactic Council representative, a tall Dorsian named Ambassador Axwell, shifted uncomfortably in the low gravity. "This is highly irregular. The Council's protocols for new alliances require years of evaluation and documentation." "With respect, Ambassador," Chen interjected, "those same protocols failed to prevent the systematic exploitation of the luminary. Perhaps it's time for some irregular solutions." Dr. Patel stepped forward, her excitement barely contained. "We've already discovered remarkable synergies between human and luminary technologies. Their crystalline matrices can store and process data in ways our quantum computers can't match, while our gravity manipulation technology can help protect and strengthen their structures." The evidence was visible through the bridge's viewport. Luminary cities were being reinforced with human-designed gravitational stabilizers, their crystal structures glowing brighter than ever. Where the Vorkath had seen only resources to be harvested, humanity had found partners to learn from. There's more, Rodriguez added from his tactical station. The luminaries' ability to transmit healing energy through their crystals. We've found a way to integrate it with our medical stasis fields. The potential applications for emergency medicine are revolutionary. Ambassador Enxvel's secondary eyes blinked rapidly, a sign of distress in Dorjan body language. You cannot simply bypass centuries of established protocol. The balance of power has already changed, Chen finished firmly. The Vorkath thought they could prey on the Luminari because they saw them as weak. They failed to understand that true strength isn't about who can survive the harshest conditions. It's about who can adapt, innovate, and work together. A new figure stepped onto the bridge. Fleet Admiral Zhang, their holocom presence commanding attention despite the technical limitations of faster-than-light communication. The Earth Defense Fleet has reviewed the evidence provided by both the Luminary archives and our own ship's records. We are formally extending protection to the Celestial Veil region and its inhabitants. The announcement sent ripples of reaction through the assembled delegates. Shen watched as various species processed the implications. Humanity, the Deathworlders who had emerged from crushing gravity to join galactic society, were not simply flexing their military might. They were establishing a new paradigm for interspecies cooperation. But the economic implications, one of the trade representatives began, will be significant, Chen agreed. The Luminaries' healing technologies will still be available to the galaxy, but on their terms, through ethical channels that benefit their civilization rather than destroy it. And any species that attempts to repeat the Vorkath's mistakes will have to deal with both our gravity wells and our lawyers. The joke landed differently with various species, but the message was clear. Humanity's protection came with both physical and political weight behind it. Resonance of dawn's light, pulsed with new patterns of light that the translator rendered as laughter. Perhaps this is why your species survived your deadly world. You understand that true strength lies not in domination, but in finding ways to help others flourish. The meeting continued well into the ship's night cycle, as details were hammered out and agreements were formalized. Chen found herself in quiet conversation with Dr. Patel during a brief recess. "Did you ever imagine this when you joined the fleet?" Patel asked, watching luminary representatives teaching human engineers about their crystalline technology, while human gravity specialists helped reinforce their city structures. Chen shook her head. "When I was young, I thought being a Deathworlder meant we had to prove ourselves the strongest. Now I realize it just meant we learned lessons that could help others. Every challenge Earth threw at us gave us another tool to protect those who evolved in gentler environments." Through the viewport, they could see the nebula changing. The luminary cities glowed brighter, their light now protected by human gravitational fields. Supply ships from Earth were already arriving, bringing materials for permanent defense installations that would blend human resilience with luminary grace. The Vorkath and their corrupt council allies thought they could exploit the luminaries' physical vulnerability, Chen mused. They never understood that sometimes the strongest alliances are forged between those who seem most different. Earth taught us how to survive crushing pressure. Now we can teach others how to thrive despite it. As the delegates resumed their discussions, the combined light of human technology and luminary crystals illuminated the bridge, a physical manifestation of how two vastly different species could come together to create something new. The galaxy was changing, one alliance at a time, proving that humanity's greatest contribution to the cosmos might not be their strength, but their ability to help others find their own. A new dawn for the galaxy. 1 year after the Vorkath incident, the Celestial Veil had transformed. The U.S. horizon glided through the nebula on what had become a routine patrol, but Commander Sarah Chen still marveled at the changes. Luminary cities no longer drifted in vulnerable isolation. They were now interconnected by a network of human-designed gravitational tethers. their crystalline structures reinforced with Earth-engineered stabilization fields. Coming up on the new Harmony station, Lieutenant Park announced from his navigation console. The massive space station emerged from the nebula's gases, a perfect fusion of human and luminary engineering. Its central core was built to Earth specifications, protecting it from gravitational threats, while the outer layers were pure luminary crystal, pulsing with stored knowledge and healing energy. "We're being hailed," Park added. "It's Dr. Patel." Chen smiled as her former science officer's image appeared on the main screen. Maya Patel had resigned her fleet commission 6 months ago to head the new Human Luminary Research Institute, dedicated to combining the two species' technologies in revolutionary ways. "Commander," Patel's eyes sparkled with excitement, "you're just in time. We're about to test the new healing matrix." The view shifted to show one of Harmony Station's medical bays. A grievously injured Dorjan lay in a treatment pod, their chitinous exoskeleton cracked from a mining accident. Around them, luminary healers floated in formation, their crystalline bodies pulsing in harmony, while human gravity technicians carefully modulated the local fields. "Watch," Patel whispered. The luminary began to sing, their crystalline resonance amplified and focused by human gravity manipulation. Light flowed like water, seeping into the Dorjan's wounds. Under normal circumstances, such intense healing energy would have been dangerous to the patient's low-gravity physiology. But contained and controlled by human technology, it worked with surgical precision. Before their eyes, the Dorjan's injuries began to heal. Cracked chitin sealed itself, damaged organs regenerated. Within minutes, the patient was sitting up, mandibles clicking in astonishment. "That's the 17th successful cross-species treatment," Patel reported proudly. "The Galactic Medical Council is finally starting to take notice. We're expecting formal certification for the treatment protocols next month." Chen nodded, understanding the deeper implications. What had begun as a rescue operation had evolved into something far more significant. Proof that humanity's greatest contribution to the galaxy might not be their strength, but their ability to help others become stronger. "How are our friends adapting to the new security measures?" Chen asked, thinking of the network of gravity sensors they'd installed throughout the nebula. "See for yourself," Patel replied, gesturing to a window where a group of young luminary were training with human instructors. The crystalline beings were learning to manipulate local gravity fields, using their natural ability to channel energy in combination with human technology. They were no longer just victims to be protected. They were becoming protectors in their own right. "Commander," Rodriguez called from Tactical, incoming transmission from Galactic Council headquarters. The image that appeared showed a familiar face, Ambassador Anxville, who had opposed their alliance a year ago. But the Dorjan's posture was different now, more respectful. "Commander Chen," Anxville began, "the Council has finished reviewing your proposal for the Interspecies Protection Initiative. It has been approved." Chen maintained her professional composure, but inside she felt a surge of satisfaction. The initiative would extend the human luminary protection model to other vulnerable species, creating a network of mutual defense and support across the galaxy. "The Council has also begun prosecution of the officials involved in the Vorkath trafficking ring," Anxville continued. "It seems your example has inspired others to speak out against similar exploitation elsewhere." After the transmission ended, Chen stood at the viewport, watching luminary ships patrol alongside human vessels. The sight reminded her of something her grandfather used to say about their homeworld. "Earth didn't make us strong by being gentle. It made us strong by teaching us how to protect others from hardship." "Message from Resonance of Dawn's Light," Park announced. "The luminary consensus is ready to begin the ceremony." Chen straightened her uniform. Today marked the official opening of the first Human Luminary Academy, where beings from across the galaxy would learn to combine their unique abilities in ways that benefited all. The ceremony would be broadcast across Council space, a powerful symbol of how former Deathworlders were helping reshape galactic society. As she prepared to transport to the station, Chen reflected on how far they'd come. Humanity had emerged from their crushing gravity, well expecting to find themselves at odds with the galaxy. Instead, they'd found their true calling, using their hard-won strength not to dominate, but to protect and elevate others. The Horizon maintained its patrol route through the nebula, its presence no longer a symbol of military power, but of a new kind of strength. In the distance, luminary cities glowed like captured stars, their light stronger and steadier than ever before, a testament to what could be achieved when ancient wisdom and evolutionary strength worked as one. The image depicts a futuristic space scene, showcasing massive triangular spacecraft with circular domes at their centers, floating in a star-filled void. These vessels are heavily armored, radiating an ominous presence, with bright green laser beams emanating from their sides, as if in the midst of combat or active defense. The backdrop is a breathtaking view of a planet's horizon and the vast emptiness of space, reinforcing the advanced and warlike theme of the fleet.